All right, people, here we are. We're going to change a water pump on a 1992 diesel Jetta. Pretty well all the same. Tells you in the book you just take off the power steering pump and remove the 4 bolts and the thing falls right off. Of course, you've drained the fluid already. So as we look down at this, we can see here's the pump. It looks all shiny because I just changed it. And every other thing I've seen where people have done this, they've had to take off the injector pump. They've taken off pulleys off the front, all kinds of stuff. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need to do that. It's as simple as the book says. Well, maybe not quite. So the pump for the power steering is already off. The alternator, obviously, is already off. It hooks into here. But these bolts here and here, oh wait, there's 2 more. And those 2 more are one's in here. And the other one is after you take these 2 bolts off, it's down in there. And when you're going to get that one down in there, it's pretty straightforward. You take one of these. So that's a universal, a short 6-point, and this one here is a flex style extension. So this one's 6-inch. If you don't have that combination, you are going to do bad things. But if you get it, it'll just fit perfectly on as soon as you remove this bracket, these 2 bolts, that bracket. You're good to go. It'll slip right in there. The other one that's way down under here, you cannot do that. This piece right here is what's restricting you. There's not enough room to get underneath there with that very same tool. Otherwise, it would work. So, there's other issues here. You can, it's so hard to see, but you can feel it. Let's get down in there and see if we can get some light on it. You can just barely see it in there. That's it. Can't even get the camera in there. Hope you got a look at that. Now, here comes the hard part. You can put a wrench on that. That's 13 millimeter. So you can get a stubby on there. And you can twist and groan. And you just barely be able to get it on there. Well, I can't do it with that hand. Let's try the other one. And there it is, it's on there. And you won't be able to move it at all because it hits right up against there. So what I did is I took a long wrench and I modified it. Well, I just dropped it before. That was the one. So this is a Craftsman wrench. They're good 12-pointers thing, and it's the professional series, and you can see I cut it off right before the number. It's 13 millimeter. I left the box end on, and it's short enough now to get on there, but it'll get on there and it'll clear those 2. Oh, that's the wrong hand again. And it'll clear those 2 obstacles. Now you're not going to get a lot of throw out of this. In fact, it's on there tight enough, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot with it. But here's what you can do. You can put that wrench on there, and it's not going to hit the support for the dipstick. And so you got to position it till it's facing down as far as it can. Sorry if I'm making you sick with this moving camera, but it's a pretty tight spot. So I'm going to try and get it in the low position. You're only going to move it one tooth. There it is. It's on the low position. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with a hammer. That's how I'm going to break it loose. Just hit it with a hammer. You'll get one notch. You reposition it. You do that several times. And then you get your second special tool, which is this. It's got a ratcheting box end on it. And you grind that off. And you'll be able to loosen the rest of it off by hand. One of the things I did to make that happen a little bit easier was I took a second wrench and I pushed it down in here like this and held that box end right onto the end so it doesn't pop off and stays nice and square. There's no way to possibly show you that. It's just too difficult to get at. Once you get that off, the two top ones off, the two bottom ones off, you are now set. The whole, obviously the hoses have been off. And I actually left on this one and all three of them, I left them on this side. I had to replace two of them. So that means they were coming off in the end. It's just way easier to get the top end of this one and get the small end of this one and then get the lower rad hose. Take it off. Oh, there's a light in the way. Take it off over here. That gets the fluids drained. You get the alternator out of the way. You take those 4 bolts out. You're off to the races. If you think you're going to try and get that thermostat housing off the very bottom, which would be right down here at the end of the rad hose here, right there, it actually goes on top of the engine block, and there's like no room to get in there. You'd have to, I tried it. I managed to get the cap off eventually, but everything is so tight in there, I wouldn't recommend it. It also, people say, oh, just undo these bolts down here and change these old bolts in place. That just give you the pump. I'll show you the pump. This is my first video that I've tried this. Just get tired of people complaining they can't do this and that. So here's the old pump. And there's 8 bolts that you'd have to take out. And you're not going to get that out, cleaned, gasket on, and put back on while it's right in place. You got to take it out. But I see people taking fuel pumps off, the whole head, the pulleys, like everything. Stop doing that. Make a tool, sacrifice a wrench. You'll have a much shorter day of it. All the best. Bye.